And welcome in to Pressbox Live. It's brought to you by C3 American Exteriors. Go to their website at c3america.com to get a brand new roof for just the cost of your insurance deductible. I know these guys at C3 America, uh, and I like them. I trust them, and I know you will too. C3 American Exteriors. Ross Grimsley with me, and Ross, we've got a very special guest. We
Yes,
got a
we do.
Hall of Famer with us.
You got it, buddy. We sure
Mike
do.
Devereaux. Let's hear it from Mike.
Yes,
Congratulations,
sir.
Mike.
Oh, wow, wow. You guys are too much. Thank you so much. It's no doubt an honor.
Hey
Totally
Ross,
unexpected.
are you even in the Orioles Hall of Fame?
Gosh, no. I'm in the Tennessee Hall of Fame and the Memphis Hall of Fame.
We
Hey,
gotta
there
work
you
on
go.
we gotta work on getting you in the Oriole Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Hey Devo, all seriousness, you played in the big leagues for 12 years. Your longest portion of your career was in Baltimore. What does this honor mean to you?
I mean, it means everything to me. It's such an honor, so unexpected. Coming up with the Dodgers, not really seeing a lot of big league baseball growing up in Wyoming and being, Dodgers were nice to me. They're good for me, especially when they traded me to Baltimore, and didn't really know what I was getting into because I just didn't really understand it quite yet. And to be able to come to a city knowing nothing about it and to play 7 years there, and the following that I received and the joy I just got out of being an Oriole and all the players, the coaches, I mean, the history of the Orioles, that also is so important. So it was a wonderful thing.
When you got traded, you were traded for Mike Morgan, right?
Yes.
Right-handed pitcher, and a character from what I hear. I didn't know him well, but I heard he was a character. Uh, when you heard you were traded to Baltimore, I know kids that become Dodgers. That's very special too. Were you disheartened, or did you say, "Hey, this might be a better chance for me to really accelerate my career growth"?
Well, when I look at the Dodgers, they have a serious history of ball players. They go way back, and that's one thing you look at. Okay, I got drafted by the Dodgers. I was very, very excited and lucky to actually be drafted by them. And then when I was traded to Baltimore, I'm looking at Baltimore, and I understand the kind of the little bit of the history of Baltimore. I'm like, hey, Baltimore Orioles history is no slouch either. And so I never looked down on it. I know in '88 we'd won the World Series, and I know in '88 also the Orioles lost the first 21 games of the season. But I always understood the fact that any team can change around at any point in time. So when I got there in '89, everybody starts out at 0-0 at the start of the season. So that's where I was with that.
So before I turn you over to Ross, we could say that you turned the whole franchise around in
there you
'89.
go.
It was
Oh,
you.
wow, that's huge. I
All
don't know
right.
about all that.
Ross, go ahead with a couple.
Steve, hey, let's talk about your family moved from Texas to Casper, Wyoming. Tell us a little bit. I mean, your path to the big league was not an easy one. I mean, going to Casper, Wyoming, where there probably wasn't a lot of baseball played out there. So, I mean, tell us a little bit. I know your family, your dad coached you and your brothers.
Right.
You were the youngest, and being around you, for me, when we coach in the fantasy camp, and you're a guy that's really a competitive individual. You're probably that kid that give me one more pitch or hit me one more fly ball or pass. I think one more pass. One of those type of kids. How did that develop? Because obviously, being in Wyoming where there wasn't a lot of baseball, I would imagine closest team is miles and miles away.
Oh,
Tell us a
yeah.
little bit about that growing up there.
Right. My whole family, or all my siblings, except for my oldest sister, was born and raised in Wyoming. And I mean, there's only a few months where it's actually warm enough to play baseball. And like I said, my father coached me, and we're one of the only teams that actually had batting practice. And we never played when it was colder than 50 degrees, but we actually had batting practice. And we quite didn't understand, but my dad always threw the team batting practice before a game. And nobody else did that. I didn't even know about batting practice,
Right.
but that's what we did before every game. And we always won. So I've from the luck of sports, I've won in baseball, I've won in high school in basketball, won in track, won in football. And it's just, I think it has to do with my father just the winning attitude and just being positive.
You look at, you played track and field, you played football, you played basketball. Why baseball? Why did you, I know your brothers played. They went on to Arizona State. I guess they got left in the shuffle somehow.
Right.
But you kept going playing baseball. Why did you continue doing that? Because I'm sure you excelled in other sports. Why baseball?
Well, my father played baseball in high school, and he loved baseball. So he's one that had us play baseball. So with basketball, football, and track, he never coached us. But, growing up in Wyoming, it's so cold. And so the summertime, we're out at the ballparks, and I loved the summer because how cold the winters were.
Right.
And plus, being at the baseball parks, that's what we did the entire summers. We hung out at the baseball parks. And I loved the game. And even, I got scholarships in football and all that. I didn't get any in baseball, but I loved the game of baseball. And I always knew that I wanted to play baseball. I knew I wasn't going to play football. Track really wasn't in the picture. Basketball, I just wasn't ready for that. But I always wanted to play baseball, and I just continuously played, not hoping I'd play for a long time, but I just played, and next thing you know, got drafted and went on and kept going.
Well, you went to Mesa Junior College.
Yes.
And then eventually Brock give you the scholarship to Arizona State. And one of the things I have to ask is, you were in the outfield with McDowell and Bonds.
Yes.
That had to be some kind of outfield. I mean, tell us a little bit about playing with Bonds.
It's so funny because all day today, the entire Arizona State baseball team has been chatting back and forth. Barry was on, Odeby was on, all the guys from the 84-85 team were just been chatting all day today. But coming up with Mesa, Jim Fry, who was a coach at Mesa Community College, actually told me not to go to Arizona State, which I was admitted to go to Arizona State as a freshman, and I changed my mind and went to Mesa Community. Then I ended up getting a scholarship going there with Brock. And I mean, with Barry there, who was incredible. I mean, he was doing things that we were just, what are you doing? And
Really?
And Odeby also. I mean, Odeby was the best player there at the time.
He was the #1 pick that year coming out, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was. He could ball. He could do it all. He was in center field, and Barry was in left, and I was in right, and then there's Todd Brown that was there, and Charles Scott was there also playing a little bit of the outfield. But it was we just had fun. We just had fun playing. We were the #1 ranked team in the nation, and we knew we were good. And we talked so much smack that we ended up losing in the World Series. So that's the way it goes sometimes. We took 30.
Yeah, really.
Hey, Diva, when you get traded to Baltimore and you become a key player for that team under Frank Robinson, what was your relationship like with Frank? Was it cordial? Was it cold until you got to a certain point and you broke through? That's what you hear a lot about Frank Robinson.
It's funny because I'm sorry, my eyes are burning up. I have so much respect for Frank, so I never looked at it as having to. I was just looking to gather information from him, and that's how I looked at it. And there's times, Frank was so good that you do things, obviously, strike out or with the runner on third base and turn and look at him, and he'd have his head down like, are you serious? You're like, man, forget you, Frank, not everybody's as good as you, but I never looked down on that, but I always, always respected the fact that I know he was hitting more than anybody else. I know he played the game at a very high level, and I just wanted to learn from him. That's pretty much how I looked at Frank Robinson, and there was no I need to, no cold period or all that. I never looked at that.
A lot of great players don't make great managers. They say those who can do, those who can't teach. Did you think Frank was really at the top of the game as a manager?
I think so. I mean, I was young, and I'm looking at the situation, and I know he respects his players. I know he backed his players all the time. He never let the umpires come down on his players, or him, of course. And I think he earned the respect of all of us. And yeah, I mean, I was at that point in time, I'm still learning the game, and I'm learning it from Frank Robinson. I mean, how in the world can I do any better than that.
Really? You didn't want to play against him. I know that. That was not fun.
I bet.
Not only could he hit, he would yell at you too.
He talked some trash.
Oh gosh,
Well, yeah.
yeah. It was but yeah, he was scary up there. He was scary.
Ross,
Yeah,
go ahead.
great.
You got a couple.
Oh, hey, Devo, what I know you when you got out of ball, you started coaching some. I think the last time you coached in professional ball was in Dayton with the Reds.
Right.
How was that? And did you try to get back into ball?
Well, after everything, the way things were going down in the game of baseball, where I saw kind of the route they were taking, where they really weren't interviewing or seeking out former players. They're going with the analytical things and going with strictly numbers and data, and it's just about pretty much inputting things into the game. I would have loved to have stayed with the Reds. There's no doubt. I would have gone with someone else if I was asked to, but I wasn't. And so kind of seeing for years and years where this game was going, I kind of saw that people like me were coming out of the game.
It's so sad. So sad.
I know.
You went to what was the academy?
IMG Academy.
Yeah, right. Now, are you still there with them?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
That's like
yeah.
That was good. It was a boarding school. It's a little over an hour away from my home, and I really enjoyed that. There's a lot of good people there. I was working with high schoolers and some junior high school kids, and they had 10 teams there, and I really enjoyed my time there. Then COVID hit, and I was one of the last ones to be hired. So we did a little virtual thing for a few months, and then they started letting people go, and I was one of them. And then they asked me to come back, and unfortunately my father started getting sick, and I also spent a lot of time home with the family, and I started playing with my kids and doing all that. And then that hour and a half back ride, just kind of all fell into the point where, I'm just going to stay home.
Right. Good deal.
Yeah.
Stan?
We're talking with Mike Devereaux. Mike, I know you didn't play with the other fellow you're going into the Hall of Fame with, and you warned us about the dog, right? You said he was going to start barking. But JJ Hardy, what does it mean to you to go in with JJ? I know you've gotten to know him over the last few years, I'm sure. Wait a minute, Mike, your volume's off. You muted yourself.
Sorry,
there
I hit that. My dog started barking.
That's all right. We can handle the dog.
Michael, I'm sorry. Close that door. So yes, I mean, ball players have special relationships. However you look at it, when you talk about players that played in the big leagues, and with JJ, obviously respect his game, and for him to be an Oriole and the accomplishments that he's made in the game, it's an honor to go in with him, and it's just great. It's awesome.
What has the club told you about the ceremony to get you in? Is it going to be affected by COVID, or do they think that are they keeping an open mind to having you bring some family members with you or something like that?
I haven't heard anything. One thing I was happy about that it was in August.
Yeah.
So that's still months and months away, and hopefully things can get cleared up a lot more than they are now by then. But I have not heard anything as far as specifics on how things would go because of COVID.
Ross was kind of chuckling at your predicament that a lot of players your age and your skill set are being, and I don't mean he was taking it lightly, but he was it's so sad. Theo Epstein is now working in the commissioner's office, and he sort of says, I'm one of the guys that helped foster in this new way of doing baseball, and it's taken a lot of good things out of the game of baseball. Are you optimistic that somehow this will come around again to where the kind of talents you have are more respected again in the game?
Well, I hope so. And obviously things change, and
Yep.
I get that. And with baseball, with these players, it starts young. So it doesn't start at the professional level. It starts at the junior high and high school level. Then they're taught the way they are, which is fine. I mean, it's still a great game. But I think what's going to happen probably, there's a couple players going to come to this game that can steal bases, that can bunt, and they're going to be on a team where it's going to start changing things a little bit, and then it might kind of gravitate back to something like that where I mean, it's an exciting game, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it gets exciting the other way, where all of a sudden you have somebody, and this guy stole 100 bases. Are you serious? Has that ever happened before? And people see that, and you see just running and bunting and all that. And I mean, the defense isn't bad either, but just more of a, aspect of playing the game. But who am I to say? I mean, I watch the game. I still watch it all the time. But even when I was playing, the players before me saying, we're better than you guys. So maybe that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. I know that feeling.
Devo, what's your thoughts on the, you talk about a guy stealing 100 bases. Now they want to make the bases bigger. They're trying to put all these new rules in. What are your thoughts on that?
I love the game of baseball the way it is, and that's the way it was. But that's the way I am. I mean, they're always trying to make up things to try to change the game, and I always thought it was a great game. The way it had been played, I didn't even hear. So they're trying to widen the bases.
They're trying to, and the reason they're doing it, though, I think you have to respect. They're trying to make the bases safer for the player to engage with. They won't be as firmly locked in. They'll have a little bit more give to them.
It's going to be like little league bases. They're like breakaways.
I think a little bit more like that. Yeah.
I mean, are there that many injuries from the bases?
Well, you have that Bryce Harper injury a couple of years ago when it rained. They're also going to be. It's going to be different how it dries off. They're going to be made of some different material. I think there's a little bit of the thought process is it might increase stolen bases, but I think the real thought is it's a safety issue. That's at least the way I read it. I don't think it's like I don't think it's some kind of big gimmick like, hey, we'll really introduce some speed into the game because we'll make the bases shorter.
I have no issue with making the game safer. I mean, I have no issue with that because injuries are a tough thing. I mean, obviously there's no taking out the second baseman or taking out the catcher or things like that, which I really enjoyed doing because it was the only way that I could get back at a pitcher that threw at me, especially in the American League. And so I made sure that second baseman or shortstop went to his pitcher and say, hey, you better stop doing that. And that's the only way I had.
I'll tell you what, you can't run into the catcher, but did you see that takeout slide last night on Shohei Ohtani?
I did.
Nothing dirty about that play.
Nothing. I mean, he slid, his cleats were down.
Yeah.
It just he was jumped up and kind of came down and
that was a scary play though.
Yeah, it was.
You know the play with Posey that started all this stuff.
Yes.
Posey goes, I have nothing to do with that. It's not. They call it the Posey rule. He goes, no, I have nothing to do with that.
I don't blame him.
He said, no. He said that is ridiculous. To do that. I mean, there's a lot of injuries, but a lot of these injuries, like you said, Stan, are make the bases safer. I don't see that many. These type of injuries. And the biggest problem they have is pitchers' arms.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Right.
Exactly. And no one talks about it, which is sad. Which is very sad.
Right.
I think.
Not to get into a whole debate about that, but the one player that did get an injury that we really know about was Harper. And that's a $300 million contract player who hurts his foot because the base is unsafe after a long rain delay. I mean, I can see wanting to address that.
Well, yes. But if it wasn't Harper, would they want to address it?
Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, obviously, I want the game to be safe, but I mean,
your former teammate Billy Ripken. I heard him one night on MLB TV doing studio work, and I thought he brought up something that's really fascinating. Did you watch much of Ohtani's game last night?
No.
show high the game that he pitched last night?
I
for
just
the
saw the
Angels?
highlights.
Okay. Well, he was going to get knocked out of that game there in the fifth inning anyway. I mean, he's got unbelievable stuff. He's max out on almost every pitch. He's already had a Tommy John injury. Billy says he'd like to still see him as a two-way player, but he'd like Joe Madden to call him in the eighth or ninth inning to get one or two guys out, where he can affect 2 or 3 games a week rather than one game every 6 days. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with Billy. Billy has a lot of intelligent things to say, to be honest with you. But I do agree with that. And then if you think about it, I mean, this dude, I mean, he can throw. And then the more attention can be on his hitting.
Yeah.
Because he can hit too.
Boy, the ball jumps off his
my
bat.
goodness.
That home run he hit last night was a monster shot.
I had to watch that like 5 times. I couldn't believe how quick his hands were on that.
We're talking with Mike Devereaux, Oriole Hall of Famer. The event will be held in August at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. We'll let fans know what's going to be allowable in terms of showing up to this event. Mike, before we let you go, and we know you got to get out, you got some baseball practice that you're running for your kid. Cal Ripken, and we mentioned Billy Ripken. We haven't mentioned Cal. You were on that team the year he broke the record. Tell us a little bit about it. No, you weren't, as a matter of fact.
I was not.
Were you? You were not.
But I do have
what did
something to
it
say,
mean? I just remembered that as I was saying it. What did it mean, though, to play to Cal? And how did you observe the game in September 1995?
Well, I mean, Cal is, I mean, you hear about these players, like when I got traded over to Baltimore, obviously with the players you hear about is Cal Ripken, of course, and you never know what type of guy he is. You know, he can play the game. And then you go and you meet him, and one of the most incredible people I've ever met. And, you know, the things that he's done has helped me throughout my career when I see the things that he do as far as signing autographs, the way he handles the fans. And I'm like, well, if Cal does that, you know, I've got to do at least that, you know. If somebody asks me, I'm not going to say, Cal doesn't say it. But it's funny because when I got traded over to Baltimore, Cal
you signed 4,000 or 5,000 autographs a night.
No, I signed it. That's because they're all over at Cal. I signed every night. I signed until there was no more to sign.
Right.
I signed until there's no more to sign, and Cal pretty much did that too. Until the fans were gone, might have stayed in the clubhouse till 1 o'clock in the morning, but
so the night,
which they don't do now.
The night that he broke the record, and you weren't there, where were you, and how were you able to watch, like on a clubhouse TV? Or
when I got to Baltimore in 1989, I counted the years that it was going to take for Cal to break the record, and I knew he would break it in 7 years. And even though I was a rookie, I said, 6 years I'll become a free agent. I'm going to miss it.
You knew that then?
I said that to myself.
That's wild.
I said that to myself. So 6 years go by. I go and I'm a free agent, and I go with the White Sox, and we're playing in Arlington, Texas. And there was a rare rainout that night. I sat in my hotel room and by myself, drinking a beer, watching Cal break that record. It was incredible.
Yeah, really.
Really
so I kind of got to see it.
Yeah.
Just not in person. Then the next year I come back to Baltimore.
I love that story of the rain out in Texas, because it
doesn't rain out.
They don't rain there at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Amazing. Ross, you got 1 or 2 more for Mike?
I got one more. I know, and we've covered a lot of things. All I can say is congratulations on this. This is really, I was really thrilled when I found out, Devo. And I know you. You're a great guy, and all the people that know you are really happy for you and proud of you, and well deserved actually. And August comes, we'll see you.
All right, Grims. Thank you very much. And I'm
Love you, man.
Hey,
love
Mike.
you too, man. This is definitely an honor.
Hey, Mike, I've got regards to you from our mutual friend, Mr. Luderman.
Okay, yeah.
He says to say hello. He's very excited about your being put in the Oriole Hall of Fame, which again will take place in August. All right.
Perfect.
Thank you very much for coming on. All right. We'll talk to you down the road. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Tell Michelle hi.
I will tell Bird the
Michelle hi.
same.
Bird
All
sends
right.
her best, buddy.
All right.
right.
You guys
All right,
take
man.
care.
Hey,
All right.
Press Box Live is brought to you by C3 American Exteriors. Go to their website at c3america.com to get a brand new roof for just the cost of your insurance deductible. Go to c3america.com now to get a free roof inspection. And Ross, before we leave tonight, real quick comment from you on the Orioles being 3-0 as we're taping
3-0. That's a good indication right there of when you pitch, you throw strikes, you change speeds. That's good things that happen, and they're doing that. Hopefully, they'll continue that. A long year, but they're off to a good start, and some good things are happening.
How impressed were you by the two left-handed starters? And what did you think
Outstanding.
of what did you think of Matt Harvey's?
Harvey did better than I thought he would do.
Yep.
You know, but they, like I said, they're throwing strikes or changing speeds or doing things that you would hope they did. Zimmerman was just as Scotty McGregor saw him pitch, told me about him, and he didn't disappoint. He was out there, looked like he'd been out there for years. I mean,
He looked very calm out there. Yep.
He's around the plate, breaking balls, change-ups. They really looked impressive, and that's really something that I don't think a lot of people thought would happen. Now, again, it's early in the season, but hey, they're off. They're 3-0, off to a good start. See what happens tonight with the Yankees.
All right, Ross, and we'll see you next Monday night. Thanks for setting it up with Mike Devereaux. All right.
Yes, sir.
And again, we thank our friends at C3 American Exteriors. I know these guys. I like these guys. I trust these guys, and I think you will too. We'll see you Wednesday night. Gary Stein and I will have on John Maroon and EJ Narcisse to talk about this new piece of legislation that's going in that's going to free up college players for the use of their name, image, and likeness. It's very interesting. Anyway, we'll talk to you then. Take care.